to another episode of Chicago Sports Overtime. I am Tina Nguyen, and today we've got the one and only Casey Johnson in the house.
I knew you were going to laugh.
Casey,
Tina.
you have the off-season glow.
I do have
How's
the off-season
your off-season going?
It's
so
going
far?
very well.
Very
Thank
well.
you.
Tell us what you've been up to.
A lot of guitar playing.
Okay.
A lot of lake time.
Okay.
A lot of my time, doing, and the thing about the schedule is it's a good job, but you're on the Bulls schedule, and now I'm on my schedule.
You are.
So,
okay, so you're busy doing all the things you love, but
I
you're
do.
also still keeping tabs on the Bulls for us, of
Absolutely.
course. All right, and we're just a few days away from the NBA draft lottery, right? Bulls have a 1.7% chance of landing the number one overall pick, 8% chance of landing in the top four. The last time they had a 1% chance of landing the number one overall pick, 2008, when they drafted Derrick Rose. Do you think they got a good chance this year?
It's
kind of a long shot, though, but
kind of a
what
long
if
shot.
luck was on their side again? Wouldn't you be so excited?
Well, I heard Greg Popovich say that they never need luck again with that franchise because they've been blessed with so much draft lottery success. So I think the Bulls have kind of used up their luck with the D Rose in 2008. By the way, I was not watching in 2008 when that happened because their chances were so slim. I will be watching Monday. In fact, I'll be there. Apparently, you might be there too.
You'll see both of us.
Anyway,
there, I'm sure.
no, look, obviously if they get the number one pick at 1.7, Cooper Flagg will be coming to Chicago, and it'll be a good thing for this franchise. It is kind of stuck in the middle right now. They need star power. I will say, and this is definitely, management speak, but they told us at the season-ending news conference that they believe they can find value in any draft. They did last year at number 11 with Modest Buzelis surprisingly falling to them. So if they stay at 12, we'll see what happens. And Modest will be up there representing on stage.
He will be. He will be. All right, so let's talk about the offseason and what that is looking like for the Chicago Bulls right now. First off, some talk out there about Giannis potentially coming to Chicago, and you're laughing. Okay, is this realistic? Come on.
Well, we've got the Secretary of State, his fellow Greek, Alexi Giannoulias, already tweeting about it, so I guess it's going to happen, right? No, look, this is a good off-season media-created story for now. We have not heard officially from the Bucks or Giannis what's going to happen. Look, the entire league, as you know, descends upon Chicago for the draft lottery and the draft combine. It will be chatter. There will be chatter about this. This will be a dominant off-season storyline. But all the Bucks have to do is to squash it is come out and say we're not trading Giannis, right? And then it's over. Giannis and the Bucks have a very unique relationship, as you know. It's it's one based on deep loyalty, and I would be surprised if the Bucks move off of him. But if they do, you're going to see all 29 teams pick up that phone and make a phone call. It'd be management malpractice not to do so. I personally think it'd be an extreme long shot for the Bulls to land Giannis, but never say never in this league.
I think it is a long shot as well. But let's just talk about it real quick. What if? What if the Bulls do try to go out and get Giannis? Do you think they can offer a trade package that would be attractive to the Bucks?
I think other teams would have better offers probably available. The Brooklyn Nets are well suited with tons of draft picks and cap space, so they can take some of that $54 million salary back. The Bulls, can offer an expiring salary in Nikola Vucevic, obviously Coby White, multiple first-round picks. Pick swaps. It's going to take a lot to land that guy. I will tell you this. I did not hear an Arturas Karnisovas at the season-ending news conference as a person prepared to make a big splash this offseason. I heard a guy asking for fans for patience in this rebuild, and I heard a guy that seems like he's going to be trying to build through the draft and have internal development with guys like Modest Buzelis, Coby White, Josh Giddey. So I personally will be surprised if Giannis is here. It's fun to talk about.
Of course, because it is also the offseason,
so
we love talking about it.
Right, also, you know how the NBA works. Like, the NBA offseason is almost as exciting or as fun as the regular season. Fans love that kind of stuff. But, like I said, if the Bucks and Giannis have a pretty special relationship, I'm personally going to be surprised if they move off of him.
Okay. You mentioned Coby White, Josh Giddey. Let's talk about Giddey, because I feel like the offseason is going to really kind of be circled around Josh Giddey. And, of course, he is a restricted free agent.
Yep.
Can the Bulls, what do you think they should do with him?
Well, I hope that they learn from the Patrick Williams situation, because in that situation, they didn't really let the market dictate things. They just proactively offered him a 5-year, $90 million deal with a player option. Now, I long have maintained, Tina, that annual salary is not that prohibitive in the rising salary cap age, $18 million. Now, obviously, you're hoping Patrick Williams plays better next season than he did last season and stays healthy. But I'm not as hung up on the $18 million as I am two things. They gave him 5 years, a player option, and they bid against themselves. They didn't let the market set. Now, only the Brooklyn Nets, as of right now, project to have massive salary cap space. I personally would be surprised if the Brooklyn Nets offer Josh Giddey an offer sheet. So you can play a little bit of hardball with Josh Giddey while also being respectful. You don't want to alienate somebody that's going to be coming back to your franchise long term. You obviously also want to have a good relationship with his agency, his representation. So I don't know, man. I think you can probably find common ground with a solid 4 or 5 year offer without going nuts and saving some salary cap space for the future. I do think Josh Giddey will be a Bull long term. I don't think you trade Alex Caruso to let Josh Giddey walk. And as I said, I don't see a lot of teams throwing offer sheets Josh Giddey's way.
And AK talked at the end of that end of season presser. He said they wanted young guys who have experience to kind of really build around that. I want to read this to you. The average point guard salary next year is $38 million.
Yo.
What do you think Josh Giddey is worth?
Well, I can tell you that his agent is saying that same sentence to Arturas Karnisovas. And, you know, look, last year he was the highest drafted player from his class not to reach a long-term rookie contract extension. The guy right before him, Jalen Suggs, hit on a 5-year, $150 million deal. $30 million is the baseline that they're going to be seeking. Again, I think you can play hardball and try to get him for a little bit less just because I don't see a lot of teams throwing an offer sheet his way. But you want to do it respectfully so he doesn't come back with bad feelings or, you know, be alienated from the franchise that you're going to be here long term with. So I'm not good at projecting salaries, but again, I think you need to learn from the Patrick Williams situation and probably be a little bit more aggressive in your negotiating. I do not think you'll be getting $38 million either.
Okay. When we look at this roster and seeing how, of course, the last 3 seasons, making the play-in, getting bounced by the Miami Heat, it is frustrating for Bulls fans. Is this the team that we saw walk off the court against in the United Center against Miami a few weeks ago? Are we going to see the same team come next season?
So
they don't. Vooch going to still be here?
I mean, that's the big one that I'm focused on. I mean, that's the one that they're definitely going to be trying to move. They tried to move him in February. Obviously, that was well documented. Look, the only way they're going to make substantial changes to this roster, Tina, is through the trade market because they do not project to have salary cap space. They do have their exceptions to sign people, but they already are up to like 12 or 13 guaranteed contracts when they add that first-round pick. They also have a second-round pick. That does not obviously have to be a second-round contract, so that could be a draft and stash situation. But I do think largely you're going to see most of this roster back next season. I do think they're going to re-sign Josh Giddey. Vooch is the wild card to me because it's clear that both he and the franchise would like to have him in a different situation. They have 3 centers under contract in Zach Collins, Jalen Smith, and Nikola Vucevic, so it would be better for the Bulls to get rid of a center as well. But you know, it takes 2 teams, sometimes 3 teams to tango. I can't predict the trade market, but I do think the Bulls will be active trying to trade Nikola Vucevic. And in lieu of not being able to trade Nikola Vucevic, I think largely you're going to see this team intact next season.
Okay, interesting. And I want to talk a little bit more, too, about Vucevic's season last year. I mean, best shooting season in his career, career high from the field, 3-point range as well. I mean, what could they get back for someone like him?
You know, that's what's so interesting about him is he's such a skilled player, obviously very accomplished, 2-time All-Star, double-double machine, as Stacey King likes to say on our broadcast. But you know, he's 34. Does he move the needle on championship contention? I think he's a nice piece. That's why the Warriors were interested in him last year. The Warriors were in on him until they traded for Jimmy Butler. I don't think he breaks the bank in terms of return value. I think you're just trying to find a smart deal that maybe gets you some draft capital and doesn't load you down with a bad salary.
When will this organization, this team, get out of being mediocre, Casey?
That's where they are.
The question that everybody is wanting to know.
And you know what's crazy, and you know this, is like they trade Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine, and they're still right where they are. Now, in their minds, and I do think this is notable, the difference, it's like the success is now based more on the young players, on the young core, like Giddey, White, Buzelis, whereas before you were basing it on aging stars like DeRozan. LaVine's not aging, but Vucevic would be in that category. And so in their mind, there's hope for the future because, you know, the young players are starting to produce and rise to different levels. But yeah, I mean, we're talking playing 3 seasons in a row. And if you run it back, you're probably projected to be in that range. You know, is Philadelphia going to be as bad as they were this year, next year? No. You know, The Pistons are going to be really good again. Toronto's got a nice core. Brandon Ingram didn't even play for them last year. So they largely could be back kind of in that play-in picture next year. So what's it going to take? You know this. You know what it's going to take? It's going to take a star.
It is.
So bring your Lucky Charms on Monday night.
Oh, but what did AK say, though? He said he believes that, you can win with 10 to 11 good guys
I don't believe
on
that.
a team. Right.
I don't
you
believe
need
it.
that star guy.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
I feel like the loss to Miami a few weeks ago was just a kind of reminder into how kind of far off they are in being able to win consistently. Because you look at the roster, I mean, you need defense, you need size, and you need a rim protector.
And the other thing that's jumped out watching these NBA playoffs is just how far the Bulls are away from the level of these teams. And yeah, it's going to take star power. It's going to take internal development. I mean, Modest Buzelis has a chance to be a star, so it's going to take internal development. Coby White has a chance to be an all-star, so it's going to take internal development. And obviously, you've got a little bit of a loss there with the departure of Peter Patton. Obviously, player development is still important to the Bulls, but Peter Patton was very well liked by the team and the players and was very good at his job. So that's still going to be an off-season emphasis for this organization, is to develop these guys. But you're obviously going to be hiring a new director of player development there. So it's going to take star power. They are still pretty far away. But there is optimism internally because of the projected ceilings for Josh Giddey, Coby White, and Modest Buzelis.
What do you make of Modest's rookie season? How did you see him progress and grow?
I think what I was most impressed by was how humble he remained and also how hungry he remained. He was not ever satisfied with any performances he had or success he had. And he was not just focused on scoring. He really wanted to be an impactful two-way player. Obviously, he's got a little bit of an edge to him. He talks smack every once in a while. We like that.
We love hearing that, especially from a rookie.
Yeah, but he did it. But then off the court, he's very humble and very respectful of his veterans and asks the right questions as the season progressed. So there's a lot to like there, and it's hard to project where a 20-year-old will go, but his ceiling potentially is pretty high.
Want to talk about Coby White. I mean, does it feel like this season we saw him really kind of grow into his own?
I think we saw that last season, but I think you saw it more consistently this season, and particularly after obviously the departure of Zach LaVine, because then he's landing number one on opponents' scouting reports defensively, and still to be able to produce that level when you're number one on the game plan for the opponent is impressive. And I thought his ability to not just become efficient from beyond the three-point arc, but also get to the rim more, get to the free throw line more. He really developed as a scorer to me. We'd seen him get hot before and have scoring explosions, but they were largely based on him getting hot from deep. And I thought he became a more well-rounded offensive player this season.
Now, Coby White is eligible for an extension this summer on July 10th.
That's not happening.
I believe. Do you think, though, can the Bulls actually retain him? Because I know he loves Chicago. He loves the fan base here, and he loves how authentic this fan base is.
I mean, they'll try to retain him, but he's going to be headed to unrestricted free agency in the next year because he is limited by the CBA to only resign for an extension this offseason at 140% of his current salary. He's outplayed that contract. So he will be headed to unrestricted free agency in 2026. I know that the Bulls will make it a priority to try to re-sign him, but he has a choice then because he's an unrestricted free agent. So he remains a priority, and obviously this season will dictate a lot of what his next salary will be and what he'll be asking for. But yeah, they can re-sign him, but it's going to be expensive, especially if he has a good year.
As someone who is covering this team in and out year-round for us, would you be happy to see them build around really Coby White, Modest Buzelis, and Josh Giddey and stick with that foundation?
I mean, they all would need to take big jumps if you want. If you're talking, I mean, it's not really my responsibility to be happy or not. I think you need more, and I think you need all three of those players to improve a lot internally, and then I think you also need another star.
Give me your thoughts on AK and how he's done throughout his time here in Chicago.
Well, I mean, how
would you grade him?
I'm not into grades. What I will say is this. I think he's an interesting one to grade because if you look at the totality of his work, what's interesting is when he first got here, all we heard about was he came from a Nuggets franchise that prioritized building through the draft and remaining patient. And then that's all we expected from him. And then what did he do? He immediately blew up the roster that he inherited from John Paxson and Gar Forman and made that Nikola Vucevic trade like out of nowhere. That was a shocker. And then he doubled down by going after big-time veterans in DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, and Lonzo Ball in this offseason of 2021. I think everyone will agree that the start of the 21-22 season looked like a legitimate contending team. Maybe not championship contention, but certainly home court advantage, first round playoff type team. And then obviously the Lonzo Ball injury. Now we're talking ancient history. Fans don't want to hear this. But if you look at that first roster iteration that he rebuilt, it was pretty solid. He definitely held on to it too long.
Okay.
And now we're seeing the next roster iteration. You can't fully judge it yet because you don't know where Buzelis, Giddey, and Coby White are going to go. I mean, the results are the results. They've been in the play-in tournament 3 years in a row.
But it's understandable to know why this fan base is just so frustrated.
Of course.
You don't want to be making the play-in. They don't want to lose a third straight year in the play-in. So for AK to preach patience, I mean, when are we going to see the light at the end of the tunnel? Realistically.
Well, I mean, I can't answer that one. I mean, it comes down to the development of the internal players and what other moves come next. I mean, they do project to have a bunch of salary cap space in 2026. I mean, obviously, the potential re-signing of Coby White will eat into some of that salary cap space, but you have tons of contracts coming off the books in 2026. So this is going to be a multi-year rebuild. That's the difference between this one.
Multi-year.
Well, that's the difference between this one and what he did in 2021, because that one was a quick, let's go for it. Let's add these big name veteran all-star type players. And now this is he asked for patience. You heard him. So this one's going to take a while.
All right. So Casey, before we let you go, give me maybe a bold prediction on what you think will happen this offseason. A bold prediction. Anything. Anything to give this fan base some hope.
I've already said they are probably running it back, so I don't really have a bold prediction. I mean, I think they're going to re-sign Giddey. I think they're going to land 12 in the lottery. Here's my bold prediction: they're going to win the lottery. Okay, I don't know. I'm terrible at predictions.
Everyone loved that. Give the fan base here some hope.
There you go.
Cooper flag.
Absolutely.
All right, Casey Johnson.
Tina.
Look at that, and he's got the off-season glow.
I do have the off-season
Thanks for
glow.
hanging out with us here in studio.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.